Hi everyone, welcome back to our new channel and our community classroom. We hope that everyone is having a great week so far and that each person is in the process of making this day the best day of your life. Today we're going to delve into the dynamic known as self-awareness, and we're going to begin to look at the relationship between self-awareness and infinite health and wellness. So, as I say to my students, let's rock and roll. All right, one of my master's degrees is in human resource development, and what I've noticed in the field is that self-awareness is increasingly being used as a buzzword and a catchphrase in many business settings, particularly among those involved in organizational leadership or organizational change or organizational development work. Also, in terms of developmental psychology and clinical psychology, self-awareness is often considered the most essential issue in the field. In fact, the quest to understand self is at the heart of much of psychology. So self-awareness as a psychological, biological, and social construct is also the actual foundation of all of the dimensions and the laws of health and wellness. So it stands to reason that one of the markers of mental health is the awareness of self as a distinct biological and physiological and psychological entity. This includes one's ability to basically utilize sound judgment and insight related to oneself as a distinct human being. Therefore, this is a skill set that I generally seek to assist both clients and students with cultivating in their lives. It's also an area of competence that I work to stay on top of in my own world. So, a solid understanding of self-awareness is also essential to our future explorations of infinite health and wellness here on our channel. While many people toss this phrase around quite a bit, many do not know what it means to be self-aware or to have self-awareness. Some may never even consider what those two words mean on their own, let alone what they mean when strung together as a meaningful phrase or construct. So, to unpack this construct known as self-awareness, let's first look at what those two words, self and awareness, actually mean. And basically, I often deconstruct important and even simple words and phrases to more fully understand what I'm saying or to better comprehend what someone else is trying to convey, whether it's verbally or in writing. Okay, so this is very helpful in both psychology and law for me, as many of the words and constructs used in both of the fields have roots in both Greek and Latin. Okay, so let's begin with this idea of self. Self is essentially defined as a person or a thing that has complete and distinct individuality. Self refers to the actual identity of a person or a thing. In other words, a person's nature or their character. Self also relates to a person's usual or typical bodily makeup or personal characteristics. Okay, in terms of philosophy, however, the self is considered the ego or that which knows, remembers, desires, or even suffers. And this is contrasted with the self that is also known as the soul. And so the self is also known as the uniting principle and the soul, which underlies all subjective experience. So biologically, the self is comprised of the natural constituents of the body itself. The word self comes to us from the Old English self, and it can indicate an actual social group, as in ourselves or themselves. While self can indicate a collective identity, self also suggests a dynamic of independence. Another word that you might have heard of related to self is auto or ought. Both have Greek roots and basically mean self, same, or one's own. These words are used in various other words and phrases indicating the idea of self being at the center of the action or the construct, such as autobiography or autograph or even autism or autonomous. Okay, so now that we have a basic sense of the idea of self, Let's look at the second part of the axiom, which is aware or awareness. To be aware means having or showing realization, perception, or knowledge. Similarly, it is related to the ideas of being watchful, cognizant, conscious, awake, vigilant in observation, alert, attending to, mindful, and alive. Now think on that for a minute. To be aware means to be alive. Awareness indicates knowing that something exists, such as a situation, a problem, or a condition. It means to feel or experience or notice things such as sensations or emotions, thoughts, and even sounds. It also suggests a basic understanding or knowing of something. Awareness indicates an understanding that something is occurring or that something actually exists. Now, this word comes to us from the late Old English, and it means watchful or vigilant. It has an earlier tie to the idea of what we call perceiving. So, when we put these two words together, self and aware, you come away with this idea of being mindful of who we are as individuals and being cognizant of what we are experiencing on this earth and what we are causing to be experienced by other selves. Together, these words indicate this idea that as humans, we are each and all individual and sovereign entities with unique bodies, thoughts, feelings, and ways of operating in the world. Now, while we experience and know things and these unique beings we are, we are not necessarily the things that we know are the things that we experience. For instance, while we may experience sunlight, pain, or a snowfall, we are not ourselves sunlight, pain, or snow. Now, there are some paradigms of reality which assert that there is no such thing as an individual self and that there are no boundaries between who one is and what one experiences. And this idea actually has substantial merit in many ways, such as the idea that we are what we eat. For paradigms which embrace the idea of individual awareness, however, the idea of being aware means that we are acutely conscious of ourselves as these unique and sovereign beings, and that we are alive and awake to what it means to be these individuals, even though we exist in a world of connected yet similarly unique individuals. Okay, I hope that made sense. Okay, so self-awareness indicates having a solid self-perception while being watchful regarding our own individual thoughts, feelings, sensations, and experiences. It's about knowing where we end and another person begins. Self-awareness, simply put, means to endeavor to know and understand the entity known as oneself. To be self-aware essentially means to live an examined life. As a psychologist and an educator, I have seen all sorts of life problems that can come from difficulties with self-awareness. The complications often multiply when individuals dismiss the need for an examined self altogether. These complications can include countless physical health issues, existential angst regarding one's spiritual journey, and even serious psychological challenges such as depression, anxiety, psychosis, abuse, and what are known as personality disorders. So in part 2, we will continue our discussion of why self-awareness is crucial to cultivating infinite health and wellness in areas of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and vocational health and wellness. Now, if you have any thoughts on how self-awareness has impacted you on your health and wellness journey, please share your thoughts and insights in the comment section below. And stay tuned for part 2. And remember, self-awareness is the foundation to nurturing health and wellness. To be aware means to be awake and alive. Remember, knowledge is power. See you soon.